Dumelang, which means hello in Sesotho to multiple people. I'm here in Mahalo Area Development Program with World Vision. I've been here for about a month. We only have a week and a half left. It's crazy. Time has just flown. I flew in here to the capital city of Maseru, and we are all the way down here, about a 2-hour drive down Mahalo. And my place of residence is over here in a village called Hatsepo. So let's go take a look. Hello and welcome to the convent. Yeah, this is where I've been living for the past 4 weeks. It's really great here, really quiet. I mean, there's chickens and roosters and goats and sheep with bells on them that wake you up in the morning, but it's actually really quiet. There's not a lot of car traffic or anything like that. So let me take you a little tour. Here are the housing areas, different rooms, and there's a kitchen in one of those and a little living room. I got some awesome views over here. There's a store down that way. Here are the gardens, and there are the clothes I washed this morning are hanging up to dry. Some awesome mountains over there. I like to kind of climb them at night. That big ridge over there has a lot of trees at the top, and even more if you go back further. It's really cool up there. Yeah, and I've really enjoyed climbing up there, watching the sunsets, taking pictures of stars. Even got lost there once, which was kind of scary, but made my way back and met some great people up there. Pretty safe, but obviously you don't want to be climbing around after dark too much. All right, here we are, this other side of the convent. Some nice cacti reminding me of California over there. Here we are at the entrance to my little abode. Let's take a look inside. So just a one room, kind of all inclusive, if you will. The bed is a little twin bed, and you get these kind of thin mattresses in Lesotho, and then you kind of double them up if you want, you know, what we might be used to in the US. Little mirror there, you know, made it work for shaving, brushing the teeth, trying to look decent in the morning. This has been a big change, these little bathtubs in Lesotho. I use this little one for like dishes and washing my clothes, and the big one for bathing. You end up taking a lot of kind of washcloth baths, the full bathing experience. That tub is maybe a little bit small for it. Got the ukulele here, been playing, been loving having it with me, been keeping me sane. Just some clothes, wardrobe. Here's the kind of kitchen area. 2-burner gas stove. I think that's pretty common here in Lesotho. Just anything running off gas is pretty common. So it's been interesting. Let's actually make sure that's off unless it's leaking. Don't want that. So gas is very common to use here, at least in my village. Kind of dishwashing area. Here are some foods. Trying to narrow down as we only have about 2 weeks left in the program. The food has been interesting here. It's been tricky getting everything you're used to in the US. Definitely there are the basics: potatoes, tomatoes, onions, garlic, peppers. But even some things like apples or mushrooms, I have to go get them in the capital city, Maseru, and they're harder to find in Mahalo. Sometimes they're there, but more than often they're not. This was really special. Got some cilantro, or as they call it, green dhania leaves. Green dhania sleeves, actually. I don't know why they call them sleeves. Keep some boiled water here, and then unboiled, kind of not non-sanitary, because the groundwater is pretty clean in Lesotho, but just water that I haven't boiled is here in these buckets. Generally don't want to keep water in there for more than 24 hours, but I just filled those up, and I'll probably use it later tonight with laundry or something. Here's the gas heater I use. This thing has saved my life in the really cold nights, and that's another thing. It's so cold at night here. But usually this actually sits way close to my bed, as close as it'll go without catching the blankets on fire, because it's, yeah, just much warmer over there. A little desk here with some books, journals, stuff to keep me busy, keep working. Backpack, towel, jackets, ready to go, ready to adventure. Yeah, that's about it for this little space. What's really cool about this little space is that everyone who stayed here has written certain quotes on the wall, which is pretty cool. So here's one. from Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, which I really like. I like that one a lot. I found out that there's a population of the people here, it weights more towards men actually, who after a positive HIV test often refuse medical treatment from westernized clinics. So what I've been doing is I've been going to focus groups, I've been interviewing village health workers, villagers, and traditional healers to kind of find out why, and like why this problem manifested, why it's perpetuated, and what has been done to make it better, and where World Vision and the government can really pursue, what areas they can pursue to really improve it. And so it's really interesting. Some of it has to do with a belief that the Western clinics, the antiretrovirals, the ARVs, can't actually help them get better from the disease. Some of it has to do with they don't want the stigma of being HIV positive and be seen taking the ARVs and be seen getting them from the clinics. So while the clinics themselves don't have a shortage of any kind of supplies or medications, people sometimes go very, very far distances, miles and miles, to other towns, other clinics to get the medications they need. So in that sense, it is an access to clinic issue. But it's also kind of a medical pluralism issue where they actually believe that the Sangomas, the traditional healers, will help them instead of the Western doctors. And so I've also been talking to the Sangomas themselves about how they approach HIV. And a big push was made in 2006 to 2008 to get all the Sangomas on board. It was called the Rural Health Initiative in Lesotho. And it seems like all the Sangomas I've talked to, it's just a convenience sample, so it's not, all of the Sangomas that exist in all of Lesotho. But all the ones I've talked to said that they really push their patients to take ARVs from the clinics. And if they're still doing badly, they'll prescribe something in tandem to the ARVs, but they won't replace them or supplant them. Other issues, have to do, the stigmatization is still pretty bad here, but it's getting better. People can be discriminated against by their own family, their own friends. But conversations, monthly workshops are all improving that. So things are getting better here in Lesotho, particularly amongst the women who, true to most societies, women will talk about anything more than men. So the problem is really the men. It's been interesting to hear the men actually rate the percentage of patients who refuse to take ARVs after an HIV positive test as much higher than the women usually do. The men are been rating it in the 30 to 40 percentile, the women in the 2 to 5 percentile. So that's been really interesting. So we just got about a couple more days this week, and then next week, and then we're done. We're headed back to the US. So I can't believe it's almost over. So the three things I've loved the most about Lesotho are, one, the people. Someone is always willing to not only translate, but spend the time to tell me things butle, which means slowly, and so that I may learn the language of Sesotho much better. And I think I've actually done a pretty decent job of trying to imbibe as many words as I can. I often tell people, Ketseba Sesotho Hanyani, Empa Ke Tutaburle, which means I know just a tiny bit of Sesotho, but I'm learning slowly. And I think, really showing an interest in their culture, their people, their language goes a long way into forging relationships and connections. The second thing I've really loved about Lesotho is the beauty. We're so far south in the southern hemisphere, the light is kind of always dying here. And it just makes for incredible, it's almost perpetual golden hour for those of you who are photographers or know what I'm talking about. The light is always dying, gives these beautiful golds, beautiful oranges, and the sunsets are incredible. Sometimes they're cloudless, sometimes they've got clouds, and the clouds just refract the light in beautiful ways. And the last thing I've loved about Lesotho is the singing and to some degree the dancing. But because there's such a large church influence, people just have amazing voices, amazing ears. I remember at the convent one night, the nuns were singing happy birthday to one of their peers. And it was the most beautiful version of Happy Birthday I've ever heard. They sang 3-part harmonies the entire way through, and it was haunting and beautiful and melodic and harmonious. It was incredible. 3 pieces of advice I wish someone had told me, or I had maybe listened to, because someone probably did tell me, was to bring some more formal attire. People in Lesotho often dress really trendy, to some degree formally, but they're just so trendy and hip. It definitely would have been a good way to connect with that population. And the other thing I wish I'd done is brought more things to give away, both material and instructional. The instructional one I've done a decent job of. I've been able to play some cards and teach some new card games to people here. I've learned some new card games, which has been awesome. I've learned some new board games, which are really fun. I definitely want to bring those back. But yeah, I could have brought board games. That would have been a great thing to do for my community. I could have brought more clothes. I honestly could have brought more instruments or collected instruments from friends, and other kind of Goodwill stores, because there's a great need for those in Lesotho. And it's kind of a shame that they are so musical and they have so much good music in church, and background in music, that the instruments that we're used to in the US aren't readily available, because I'm sure they could do amazing things with them here. And the last thing that I wish someone had told me, or maybe just I've had to learn it on my own, is to advocate for yourself, for your project. I spent 2 weeks talking to people to get my project off the ground, and it was really important to do that and learn to advocate nicely and politely, but to learn to really push in a kind of political, cooperative way was something that I think has been really important to my success in time here.